And I thought it was just such a brilliant comment because we've all been there as an announcer, right? You're sitting there, there's nothing to talk about. You got to fill it up with something. But like you said, like P.T. Barnum and all the good side of what Carney is, filled that up and made the story even before Bruno walked out.
Pre-show dark match. Fatu defeats Hunter Helmsley in 10-20. We're not talking about that. Then the commentators. Apparently, they went for a three commentator team because maybe Nitro was doing it, and so they had Jim Ross, Jerry Lawler, and Vince McMahon. Welcome, everyone. I still think Vince is a great commentator.
Oh, he's a great announcer. Phenomenal.
Yeah. Do you know, it's someone who can't, he's not a Joey Styles as far as he can tell you what the real name of the Taz mission is or something like that. But for somebody who builds excitement and is just an absolute P.T. Barnum style Carney, but in the best way,
yes.
Like the circus master, the ring master. He does a fantastic job and always did. I'm sure there's 10 million segments, but if you want to see how good Vince is as an announcer, I saw that somebody sent it to me 2-3 years ago. It's the first match from Bruno back after the broken neck. Stan Hansen, who was 19, 20 years old at the time, he broke Bruno's neck by the way, it was a body slam, not a lariat. He just dropped him, and he said, big old dimples punch, man, I thought my career was over. And here it made his career. But in that first match back, Madison Square Garden steel cage match. Now, this is the era before ring music and all of that. So here comes Stan Hansen down, and he's walking around the cage and feeling it. And you just tell by his body language, trepidatious. He's showing the crowd that he's scared of this. Finally gets in, and then there's an ungodly long lull between him coming out and Bruno coming out. Vince's commentary during that lull is amazing because he is watching 25,000 people waiting for this. You can feel this rumble in the crowd. And then there's nothing. It's just dead air. It's just his commentary to that. At one point he said, Bruno Sammartino, the living legend Bruno Sammartino, ever the champion, is giving his opponent time to think about it. And I thought it was just such a brilliant comment because we've all been there as an announcer, right? You're sitting there, there's nothing to talk about. You got to fill it up with something. But like you said, like P.T. Barnum and all the good side of what Carney is, filled that up and made the story even before Bruno walked out. The match itself is nothing, cage matches are always, from a wrestling point of view, sort of down a few rungs. It's, you're not getting a Lou Thez classic, right? It's, this is pretty much what you expect it to be, just brawling and throwing into the cage and everything. But Vince's commentary throughout that, Bruno's first match after the broken neck, was superb. And for me, like growing up, Vince was always the commentary guy, right? I'm sure there's places where he crapped the bed, but I don't recall him off the top of my head. I remember him being incredibly entertaining and getting over exactly what was on the screen at the time. Fantastic announcer. The only times
it pains me to say that.
The only times that I really, they're just more charming, is when Vince is absolutely sure it's not going to be the finish, and he goes, "This won't get him." Oh, it did. And then he'll just move on.
Yes. Yeah. Or he'll say, wait, was that three? Was that three? And on a false finish, he's getting the excitement for the viewer up. Just really brilliant commentary.
When I think of Vince as a commentator, and I will move on in a second, it's always back body drop. It's his own little just trademark of just that one line.
Yes, yeah. I always enjoyed him as a commentator. I thought he was fantastic at it, and did on this show last night.